Glad to be here, and a lot of new faces. I'm in training, like all of us are in training as an artist. I've been painting since I was 5. I started painting a lot when I moved to Reading, which is about 1972. Painted full time for quite a while, and then of course had to go back to work to feed myself and raise my family. But I'm still in the process of trying to retire. I retired for a couple of years, but had to go back to work for a little bit. And we're trying to downsize, sell our house, and move into a mobile home, and then I can paint full time again. So that's my goal. I hope you find the pastel interesting. I believe that you have to know how to draw, and pastel gets a little messy, but I do enjoy it because of the things that I can do with it. I do paint with watercolors, and I teach watercolors for the Reading Recreation Department, and I paint with oils. So, with that, first, I have a picture here. I bought my granddaughter, who's 14, a set of pastels for Christmas, and last summer she came up and I set up a little still life for her, and she did a still life for me.
Whoa.
So she's 16.
Oh,
she's 16
lovely.
now.
Did you do any painting on that?
No. I went back to work, and
Beautiful.
yeah,
Genetics, I guess.
she just well, her mother paints because I paint. You're right. It's they've been around art, and she wanted to paint, so because she was bored, so I set it out. She was staying for about a week, and since my wife and I work, she was kind of bored, so I just set up still life, and she had brought her pastels along, and away she went. She just won a state fair, best of show, and a county Sacramento state fair. County fair. So anyway, with that, I have selected a picture which I took last August up at Bub Brookie's, and it looks simple enough that I could do in an hour.
Show the
So,
camera.
What I do normally is I start with a pencil sketch.
Show it.
Oh, sorry about that. And we'll try this. Okay. And we'll try for composition. Right now, my eye level line is right smack dab in the middle, and we don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm going to. We have a nice reflection down here, so which I don't particularly care for. So I'm going to raise I'm going to lower my eye level line and have more of the upper part of the picture. And when we have to decide in the picture what it is we want. If we want the clouds and the mountains and the sky, we have an eye level line that's down close to the bottom of the picture. If we want the foreground, then we have an eye level line that's towards the top of the picture. So that's how you decide. So I'm going to bring my eye level down just a little bit, if I can't get it fairly straight. If I can't, it will be crooked.
pencil are you sketching with?
Just a number 2 pencil, a 2B, just a black warrior, but it's just a 2B pencil. You get anything softer, you just wind up with too much graphite and can't control it.
And he's also working on that sanded.
Oh, yes, I'm working on a Wallace sanded paper, which is about 600 grit sandpaper if you were to go to the hardware store and buy it. So, and then I put it on acid-free foam core, and I use an acid-free adhesive to bond it with. And then I take a roller and roll it out. Sounds like it's raining. Now that's enough of the sketch, I think. Now what I do is I take a little turpentine, that turpenoid, and I set it with an oil painting brush. And that way the graphite doesn't come off.
Oh.
So it's
Zoom in on that.
pardon?
Get in the camera first and zoom in on what you do. But the turpenoid smears your graphite.
It does. But it also gives me a value study.
Ooh.
And I
Do it
can
all over the canvas or only certain parts?
just go over the graphite. Now, since I don't have graphite here, and the value is going to be a little darker than the sky, I can come up here like this. Because I still have a little graphite in the pencil. Now, it gives me 2 different values.
Is there any way to pick that up to get your value too dark? You know,
Just scrub it off with more turpentine. But you can't get it too good. You don't worry about it.
paper towel or a rag?
You can, but you wind up leaving cloth on the sandpaper. So, and if it's not dark enough, you can come back.
You got something
Screw.
You talking about me? Now we can come back in and put a little more graphite on there. Our beach is right along in here. And then the reflection of that darker area here, the darker value. So I just picked up some pastel off of this dirty cloth there.
Do you have to wait until this is dry to work with the pastel?
No, it's if I were to put pastel on it right now, it would be soft and go on there quite heavily. But by the time I get ready to put pastel on it, it'll be dry enough.
That's really neat, just like that, without putting pastel.
That's the end of the demonstration.
You would say that.
Okay, now, if I can have a volunteer go put this out on the asphalt and get rid of it.
Oh.
And
Just dump it.
just swing it. So it evaporates into the air. We don't want to pollute the groundwater. So now what I start out with is I usually start out from way far away and work forward. And some people, Albert Handel starts right in at the dark values and works right in this area here. So, but I'm not Albert Handel, so I'm going to do it my way. So, now I can come in here like this, and I paint mostly with the side. It's almost like a brush stroke. And you do it very softly, so that you don't wind up getting too much on there. I see a problem. Does anybody see a problem with my composition? I got a blue strip here and a blue strip there that are exactly the same. Just doesn't work real well. So, anyway, what I think I'm going to do is widen this one a little bit. Oh, too dark. Now I take one of these paper towels, and this one's a little too dirty, so I get a clean one. I get these at Napa Auto Supply. They're almost like cloth, and they don't shred when I smooth out my pastel. Guy's supposed to be a little darker at the top than it is on the bottom, so we will lighten it up some.
What brand of pastel is this?
I have several different brands, but mostly Schminckies. But I also have some Unisom, and I have some Great American. And if you're just starting out, you know, like here's my set of Unisom. You can start out with a set like this, and then go to the store and order a darker and a lighter value of each color, and then that gets you pretty much a full set. So anyway, I haven't used all of these colors yet. Anyway,
Do you have any idea what a set like that costs?
this one here is $90, and I have my set of Schmiekes. I bought a 90-piece set, and that was $300. You can buy a full set of Schmiekes for $900 and something dollars.
Go as big as you want.
Yes,
Right.
thank you.
I started out with a smaller set.
Good idea.
There are other colors that you can buy. See, I added to my Unisom by buying a set of darks. And then you can buy a set of lights, you know. So, since I use a lot of dark colors, you know, it's good to have a set of darks. Just don't know what brand these are. So these are some more Schmiekes, some darks, and the others were Unisom. And I think I have a set of Ronnie, like this. These are a little less expensive than the Schmiekes or the Unisom. Unisom sells for around $4 a stick. Schmiekes is $3 a stick, and these are about $2.50 a stick. So it does get expensive, but you know, you can produce quite a few paintings off of what you got. And then you just start replacing the colors that you use most of. And if you notice, in order to organize, I break the piece in half, and I leave the one with the number on it. So when I need to run out of that color, I go back and see what color, then I order 2 more sticks, because that's a color that I use a lot. So that's why you see just half sticks right there. This is really what I'm doing is mostly an underpaint. And it's not working out real well because I got these stripes here. And this is where it's a good idea to do a thumbnail sketch of what you're doing first, which I didn't do.
Well. Demo.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Amen.
But it's very important to keep track of your composition.
Dry rag, or did you dip it in turpentine?
No, it's dry. If I were to drip it in turpentine, well, there's a little bit of turpentine on the brush here. It would darken it up. 'Cause it's fairly
Probably
dry.
dry now.
Yeah.
Even for this thing out.
Right. So, anyway. Doesn't show a cloud in the picture, but I'm going to put some clouds in here.
work from dark to light, light to dark,
You work
Are
from
there
dark,
any steps?
you work from dark to light,
dark to light,
just like oil.
like that.
You treat pastels just like oil. So, now, I don't have any darks in the background, so I'm painting the lights first. But,
It's interesting, I was taught this exactly the opposite.
Yeah, I would too.
to start from the front and go back?
No, light to dark.
Oh, light to dark with pastels?
With pastels and oils.
Oh,
But you can get your painting too dark if you start with too dark.
well, there is always that possibility, but that you can also get your picture too light. Because what usually happens is that because you're working on a white surface when you first start out, you put on a dark
Get your values right.
you know, you put on a dark, it looks real dark. But then after you start getting your middle tones in, then it's not quite as dark. But the main reason for that is, I probably messed this painting up, but if I, well, let's say if I go into a dark right now, what happens is it picks up the white and starts getting muddy. Okay. Where if I can come back over with a light color, it doesn't do that. That's the main reason for that.
You can layer and come up to
Right.
the color.
Right. I can put a light over dark much easier than I can put a dark over light. Now, of course, I have put light here, but I smudged it in. It's real thin, so I'm not quite so worried about it.
So would you say that again now? It's easier to put a light over dark than it is
Yes.
to put a dark over light?
That's correct. Now I'm trying to get this hill, I stay light here, and then so it looks like it's coming down here. So I warmed it up a little bit when it gets a little closer to me. And if you keep this edge soft, instead of making it a hard edge, you get that roundness feeling. You know, you put a hard edge there, all of a sudden it's like a cutout where somebody cut the mountain out and just pasted it against the sky. So you kind of keep it a little soft, and it keeps it in the background. Okay, now we're going to go start out dark here for my tree. Now because there's branches, little branches, I don't paint all the little branches. Just lightly go across and just kind of give a hint of gray color it gives you the feeling that there's a lot of little branches there that you can't see. It's just like if you go out there and look at a tree that's where you can see light behind it, squint your eyes, then all of a sudden the branches just kind of disappear. But the value of the sky is a little darker because you're seeing trees through there. So. That television does make it nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, fascinating. Right back here.
I think I just watch it here.
Can you tell me about the differences between pastel and oil pastel and why you prefer which of these?
Oil pastel, to me, I like working with oil pastel, but it's more like crayons. You know, it's got that waxy, oily deal. You can't smear it near as well as you can with this pastel. And
It's soluble, though.
it is soluble, so is this. I can take water, or I can take turpentine and go back over this, and you know.
That works with oil pastel.
Right. But you can do the same thing with this. And take turpentine and just sit here and paint, just like I did with the graphite.
Will it come back to the powdery look, the softer look?
Yes. And you can come back over the top of it too. So.
Where with the oil pastel, it comes back to more of a shiny,
Yeah.
oily look.
Right. Because you turned it into an oil.
Yeah. Do you prefer this sandpaper paper over regular pastel paper that has lighter teeth?
I don't even use the regular paper
Don't
anymore.
You use just
I love this gloss paper. But I have used a mid-tone Canson paper. I don't like it nearly as well as I like it. But and the other paper on my animals on the book that you've seen were done on that velour, that kind of soft velour paper. I like working on that. Got some dark blue in here. get some dark brown in here.
Straight black to begin with, to set your tree in and your delicious.
No, that was very dark green. Very dark
It
green.
didn't look really black to me.
Pardon?
It didn't look very black to me,
No,
that's why.
no. Well, in oils, I don't use black at all.
Do you work indoors?
I work outdoors mostly. That's why I've got the setup that I have. Because I haul this little folding table around with me.
In Reading, you can do that, though.
Pardon?
In Reading, with the weather there, you can do.
It's a little harder here. It'd be hard for me.
Good observation.
If you don't use blacks when you use oils, what do you use?
I use ultramarine blue and burnt umber. And then get it just as dark as I can. If I need a little darker, I'll put a little Lizzie crimson in it, which will turn gray, dark gray.
So what would that be, kind of like a paint spray, if you're working?
well-
You have to add yellow to get
Yeah, you'd have
your
to,
tree primed.
well, the burnt umber is an orange, so you have the yellow in it. And so, but, you know, to get it grayer, you see, if you add yellow to it, you're gonna lighten it up. And I'm talking about trying to get it as dark as you can. But I either stick to the ultramarine side or I stick to the umber side, depending whether I want a warm dark or a cool dark. Okay? So, and the difference if you're, you know, like portraits, up under the nose where it's dark, it'd be a warm dark. If you were painting a barn and you have an open door, it'd be a warm dark in there because the blue sky isn't reflecting into it. And if the blue sky can get to it, like the shadow of a tree, then it would be a cool dark. Okie doke. Trying to paint a painting in an hour is kind of difficult. But when I go out and paint, usually about 2 hours, I have it 3/4 done, and then I can take it back into the studio and finish it up. I got some greens in there. I'm going to use a red there and kind of warm it up a little bit. See how easy it is to paint over the dark with the light? Get a little gray in there around these rocks. And driftwood. And all that we're doing is hinting at it, not trying every little teeny rock, or we'd be here for the next week. And you get very sick of my your sick jokes.
Actually, that was very apropos because I detail things to death.
Yeah. Very easy to do. That's where we can fix this thing.
Do you ever get in there with your fingers or one of those
I do.
blending sticks
All the time.
all the time?
Yeah.
Get the little finger dragging.
I try to be very careful because you wind up rubbing the, you know, when little red spots show up, you rub too much.
Raw fingers and fingers.
the finger.
There it is. Can I get that corner? You need one of those reducing.
Here, we'll reduce it right there.
Oh.
That's the way the water, water's like water.
And dark water is always a little darker than the sky, even though it's reflecting the sky. Well, let's see if we can't put a few little details in here now, without getting carried away with that. Pardon?
I almost started to applaud.
Well, I think it's about done.
You work from photos very often.
I do. I like to paint outside. But what I do is,
Yeah, sure.
as an example, this here is Brandy Creek number 5, I think. I have Brandy Creek from 1 to 16. Okay, and this I did there at Brandy Creek, which is near Whiskeytown Lake. But here's the photographs while I was painting that I took of Brandy Creek.
She wants you to
Oh,
there you go.
there you go. These are the pictures that I took of Brandy Creek. And I can go back, since I sat there and painted for 4 days, 5 days, since I sat there and painted for 4 or 5 days, I could go home and paint from these pictures, and I still have it in my head.
How do you put your picture up that you see it? You tack it to the paper?
Yeah,
or
I usually
something?
tape it right up here.
Uh-huh.
So, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I took a couple of pictures. I'll pass this one around. There's one picture that I painted that, in fact, you can see part of it. And I set this easel on one rock, and the 2 back legs were on another rock, and I was sitting here, and I couldn't step back.
Whoa.
For 4 days?
One picture.
Do you erase the pigment that's gone onto the foam core, or do you just leave
Yeah,
that?
that's covered up with matte when I frame it. Now you see on the foam core over there. Now some of these, this one's not finished. Just leave it like this. This one's not finished. So now I did a pencil sketch here and washed it down with dirt. This one I did watercolor. You can see my watercolors running. Did a watercolor first, and then came back over with pastel.
Ooh.
Okay?
Is there any special reason?
Now for painting. Yes, ma'am.
How do you have your paper attached to the foam core?
With glue?
Acid-free.
No.
Any kind of glue or what?
No. This is acid-free foam core, and I get the, trying to think of the brand, but it's an acid-free spray mat. You know, like that spray glue, 3M spray glue that they now photograph. Except this is acid-free, And then I'll cut my paper, and I usually cut the foam core so it's 3 inches bigger than my paper. I lay the paper down and I take a pencil and I just go around it so that I know where my painting's going, I mean my paper. And then I go outside and I take the paper and I lay it backwards so that just this way. So it's right along that bottom line, and then I cover up everything I don't want to spray. And I spray both at the same time and pick this up and lay it down in the pencil line. And it does a pretty good job.
What do you use to cover up the rest with?
Just scrap cardboard. Scrap mat or whatever. I have 4-inch strips that just lay down here.
Then the frame covers up what is the.
The mat covers the painting. The mat is in behind. Now I used to cut the mat, the foam core just about a ½ inch bigger than the paper. And then give it to framer, and she complained wildly. It was hard to take this, and the backing goes around. So if my foam core is as big as the frame, then the mat just lays right on here very easily. More support, right. So. Okay, I'm going to blue this up a little bit because it's too green. And it's supposed to be in the background, so.
What is that? You put inside.
There's trees up above, up on the hill.
The yellow's the hill.
I know the yellow was the hill. Couldn't make out if that green was a bird or what.
No, birds look like
Yeah, that's what a bird looks like.
I told a story here a little while to a few people, but I worked all one day. I joined, I think, a watercolor group up in Oregon along the coast every July. And I worked all of this one Friday and that afternoon. And people come by all day long saying how nice it looked. And in fact, even one couple said, is this a group? And I said, yes, most of them are up that way. And so they got on their bicycles and they rode up that way, and pretty soon they came back. And they said, are you the leader of the group? And I said, no, Mr. Sandgren, he's up where you came from. He says, no, can't be, because you got the best painting here. So,
Nice compliment.
anyway,
Yeah.
but that afternoon we had a critique. And Nelson Sandgren sat there, and when my painting finally got up there, it took a long time to get up there, so I was starting to already get a little upset. And finally somebody put it up there, and he sat there and just looked at it and looked at it. And then his friend George got up and says, I want to talk about this one. And he looks at the painting and looks back at me, and he looks at the painting and says, what in the hell were you thinking? He says, you're in love with this green or something? And he says, your trees are all standing there like soldiers. And the blue is the wrong color blue for the green, and et cetera, et cetera. I was about 10 feet tall, my eagle, before I had the critique, and I was about 6 inches tall when it was done. But after talking to my wife, I realized he wouldn't have said it if he didn't think it was a good painting. I learned later that his friend Nelson Sandgren, the leader of the group, the two of them have been painting for 50 years. And Nelson had just got back from Mexico with a few of his prize paintings that he did down there he was very proud of. And he had them on his easel and in shady. And George was sitting there looking at his painting. He says, Nelson, you know what this painting needs? And Nelson says, what? He says, a good coat of whitewash. So that's George. I mean, he's right out front. But I learned a lot from what he said.
Yeah.
I learned learned a lot from what he said. So my paintings, if you look through the book, they're before George and after George. There.
Will we be able to tell?
Actually, yes. Get rid of my bird here.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Put my clouds back in here.
Do you spray pixie on your pastel when you're looking?
I do, but very lightly. I stand way back here and just put a little fog on it. After I tapped it several times so I get the loose stuff off. But technically speaking, I don't spray them. It's, I mean, I do put a light one on because the framer's going to be framing with it and knocking it around, and other people, when I go to shows, they're going to take a painting and they might drop it, so I do put a little fixie. But most pastel artists don't put fixie on.
Bonnie,
Yeah,
I think
so-
you told a story about one of yours ending up on the glass.
Yeah, well, somebody cleaned the glass with a piece of wool.
Oh.
They cleaned it with wool. Static electricity
Oh my gosh, through the glass?
through the glass. Well, it's the glass that creates the static electricity.
Oh.
And you'll transfer your painting from the paper to the glass.
Oh.
Wool.
So, don't clean any pastels in here with wool. Well, I think I want to end it there. It's kind of simple, but it gives you an idea how I go about putting a pastel down.
Do you sign it on the piece itself, or do you sign it on the back, or?
I sign it right there, and right there, so on the painting, probably right here. Subject matter is on this side, and sometimes I use my signature to kind of balance the picture out.